Our mission is to brand Kenya, export Kenyan, and build Kenyan. Our core values are actually within 5 areas. 1, collaboration. 2, customer-centric. 3, innovation. Energetic. And finally, passionately Kenyan. And our tagline is inspiring global trade. And our core services will revolve around these key areas. 1 is on market intelligence and research. With this, as an agency, we undertake research and market intelligence activities that relate to now opportunities that exporters can be able to take advantage of. For any time, let's say you need some information in terms of now what are the opportunities within a certain market, there is a directorate that undertakes market intelligence and research to be able to submit such information. We also have the product market development and promotion. Now, this directorate actually focuses on after the market research has been done. This directorate looks at now creating and taking our products out there. And there are quite a number of activities that are taken in this. We have market development initiatives through the Kenya Export Market Development Program, which is a program that is produced every year. We also have the market development initiatives, where actually we participate in other programs, such as right now the Japan activity that is going on, and also undertaking exhibitions in other countries of focus. Another key service is on advocacy and trade policy facilitation, where we support our exporters through advocacy in case there are issues that are raised and that need to be brought to the fore. We will take them up with the right institutions. We also have export trade information services. In case you need information in terms of now market opportunities that are there, we have the trade advisory services that actually dispenses such information. And you can come and visit us at our anniversary towers, first floor, where we'll be able to give you information. Alternatively, an email or even through our social media handles, we'll be able to support you. And also another key service is international market development, which is more or less linked to product market development and promotion. And finally, we have nation branding, where as a key focus for us, we want to position Kenya out there through our brand. And we have what we call the Made in Kenya mark, which is actually an initiative that actually is there and it's free, where we want to position our products that when they go out there, we do not lose out on our visibility in terms of our products. So I think when you join our website, you can go to our website and you get to know more about the Made in Kenya mark. You can actually register and get the Made in Kenya mark. As it stands for now, it's actually free. With that, I'd like to submit on our services as Kenya Export Promotion and Planning Agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelvin Kai, for that wonderful presentation about the Kenya Export Promotion and Planning Agency. Ladies and gentlemen, we've learned that KEPROBA's mandate is to implement export promotion and nation branding initiatives and policies that promote Kenya's export of goods and services. And that's why we have this webinar today, where we want to delve into the Egyptian market, looking at what the AfCFTA provides for us, the opportunities that are there, and the challenges. At this point, I don't know, Bwana Tobias, is the ambassador in?
Yes, the ambassador has joined. Maybe he can speak up so that probably we know he is hearing us.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to welcome our CEO, Madam Floyce Mukabana, to open up for the official opening remarks, and also to welcome the ambassador to give his keynote remarks. Madam Floyce. Madam Floyce Mukabana. As we try and reach out to our CEO, I would like to take us through what the program looks like. So we'll have the keynote presentation by the Kenya, our ambassador in Egypt. After that, we'll have a presentation by Mr. Tobias Ongani, who is the commercial attaché at the Kenya Embassy in Egypt. Mr. Tobias will give us a presentation on the AfCFTA opportunities and how to leverage on them, giving us a case study of the Egyptian market. Then we'll also have Madam Rose Ndunda from Kenya Revenue Authority. Rose will give us a presentation on facilitating exporters to access the AfCFTA markets with a focus on the Egyptian market. This looks to be a very interesting topic, given that issues of customs and taxes are very sensitive, especially when you're delving into a new market. Then we also have Madam Veronica Kivengea from Kenya, from KEBS, Kenya Bureau of Standards, who will make a presentation on how compliance to standards enhances exporters' competitiveness in accessing AfCFTA markets. This is a very important topic, as we believe as a nation, we produce very good quality products, authentic made in Kenya products, and we want that to be the same when it gets out there in the market, that it is competitive compared to with other products from other countries. Then we'll have Evelyn Wamai, who will give us from Kentrade, who will make a presentation on how exporters can use the single window system to lodge documents and access AfCFTA markets. Last but not least, we'll have Consilia Were from KIPI, who will make a presentation on KIPI's role in facilitating trade within the AfCFTA. So we have a really packed program, and I'm sure at the end of it all, we'll be enlightened and more empowered, yes, to venture into the Egyptian market. So Madam Floyce Mukabana, you're welcome to make your remarks.
Miriam, thank you very much. I hope I'm audible now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Miriam, for taking us through the program, as well as I would like to thank Kelvin for taking us through the background on Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency. I will just delve to what I was requested to do, which was to give opening remarks to this webinar, as well as invite our ambassador in Egypt to give the remarks for the day. I will begin by, first of all, acknowledging the presence of the dignitaries in the house, which we begin with the ambassador to Egypt, His Excellency Ambassador Frederick Outa, MBS, representative from the Kenya Revenue Authority, Ms. Rose Ndunda, representative from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, Madam Veronica Kivengea, a representative from the Kenya Trade Network Agency, Kentrade, Ms. Evelyn Wamai, representative from the Kenya Industrial Property Institute, Ms. Conchila Were, our esteemed stakeholders, my colleagues from Keproba, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm pleased to welcome you all to the important webinar titled The AfCFTA, a New Era of Trading, a Case Study for the Egyptian Market. In a special way, I'd like to thank our embassy in Cairo, Egypt, for the immense support in organizing the webinar. I also note and appreciate the support from my key stakeholders in the trade facilitation space, particularly the Kenya Revenue Authority, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, Kenya Trade Network Agency, KenTrade, Kenya Industrial Property, KIPI, who will take us through the pertinent issues in accessing the AfCFTA market. Ladies and gentlemen, the main objective of this webinar is to provide information about the Egyptian market in terms of export opportunities and market access issues. It is important to note that Egypt is the first largest export destination market for Kenya, the 11th, sorry, for Kenya, with exports valued between 205 million Kenyan shillings in 2024. In the flip side, Kenya imported goods from Egypt worth Kenya shillings 309.2 million in 2024. Kenya's principal export products to Egypt is tea, with a share of 93% of Kenya's tea exports, total exports to Egypt in 2024. Other key exports to Egypt include paper, paperboard, cut flowers, dates, pineapples, avocados, guavas, and mangoes. Ladies and gentlemen, having signed and ratified the AfCFTA instruments, Egypt is also a member of the Guided Trade Initiative. Egypt is now ready for enhanced trading owing to the strong economic, political ties and proximity to Kenya, similar language of communication, and a high affinity for Kenyan products, such as tea and flowers, among others. The Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency is actively collaborating with our embassies and regulators to support Kenya enterprises to export within the AfCFTA market and address emerging issues. In this regard, I urge all participants here today to take advantage of the resource persons we have brought together in this webinar and get all the information you need to prepare and to take advantage of the opportunities that AfCFTA presents. Lastly, let me reiterate KEPROBA's commitment to providing information to our new and existing exporters and about export opportunities, export trade training, market research and intelligence, and market linkages. I would also invite business community here to register to our e-portal platform and link with our prospective buyers and sellers. The e-portal will enhance your brand's visibility and enable buyers to locate and source from you. Visit our website, which is www.makeitkenya.go.ke for more information, including registering for the Made in Kenya mark of identity for free for companies with locally manufactured goods. At this point, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our keynote speaker for today, His Excellency Ambassador Frederick Outa, Kenya's ambassador to the Arab Republic of Egypt. He's also accredited to the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan.
See, we have lost you.
Can you hear me now?
We
Miriam?
can, Mariam. Yes, we
Can you hear
can.
me?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, at this point, it's now my pleasure to introduce the keynote speaker to today, His Excellency Ambassador Fred Outa, Kenya's ambassador to Arab Republic of Egypt, and also accredited to the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan and the state of Eritrea. Ambassador Outa is a former senator for Kisumu County and an MP for Nyando constituency, during which he served both houses for a total of 15 years. Karibu sana, Bwana Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Madam C, I think Balozi is having a bit of technical hitch, but he's working on it. I think he's trying to talk and is not audible enough.
I understand. I went through the same challenge myself.
Bwana Tobias? As
Yes.
we wait for the ambassador, I don't know if it will be okay for you to proceed with your presentation as you try and sort this out.
Yes, I can.
All right, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Mr. Tobias Onganyi, who is the commercial attaché, Kenya Embassy.
Excuse me, ambassador has come to my desk. Let him do the keynote
awesome.
from here.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Balozi.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Balozi, we can hear you.
Sorry for that hitch. We are having challenges in this side where normally they monitor the internet very closely. But first of all, let me take this opportunity to thank the organizer, especially Kepropa. And I want to thank the CEO for coming up with this initiative, which will enable us to ensure cooperation to steer up the market access in Egypt. One thing which is well noted, I want to be able to tell our participant this morning that Egypt is Kenya's key trading partner, and especially in the export of tea, they are number 2 after Pakistan. There is really a great need to expand the market coverage for Kenya products here in Egypt, and especially with the benefit of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We are expecting that with the establishment of the ACTAF, Kenyans will be able to benefit from this will benefit from these free non-tariff barriers. And of late, we've been working hard to be able to have even all our trade transacted in our local currencies that will ease the bilateral trade between the African nations, especially when the challenges of the greenbacks, the dollar. And for that, I also want to thank the Central Bank of Kenya, who have already agreed to sign an MOU between both Egypt and the Central Bank to continue with this bilateral trade of using the local currency. As we know, Egypt as a market has a lot of opportunities which need to be tapped for the benefits of the exporters from Kenya. The population here is about 120 people spread in the vast area. As an embassy, we are also accredited to not only in Egypt, but also to the Kingdom of Jordan, Eritrea, and especially, and now I understand maybe Tunisia, where we have a mandate to find the market for Kenyan's product. When the president was here on a state visit in January, there were 12 instruments that were signed. We expect that Kenyan's exporters and traders take the advantage which will come with the implementation of the MOU signed. With this sign of engagements, it is our sincere hope that the stakeholders will learn the dynamics of the markets and put to use all the advice we will be giving in our presentations. Our work is to make sure Kenyan's exporters don't fall in bad hands of the unscrupulous importers and thereafter use their hard-earning money, of which we have of late, we have some few cases here in our office today.
Tobias. Tobias.
Can you hear me?
Yes, are you using the presentation? Are we?
Yeah, because my presentation was in my desktop, so then I'm just reading. Then I'll be able to send you my presentation.
No. We have it, but it's not. It's like you are not going as what you are.
Yeah, Chwaya, this is
sorry,
His Excellency
sorry,
Leopard.
Balos. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
Giving his
sorry,
team
Balos. Sorry, Balos.
address.
Sorry, Balos. Sorry.
so
Continue.
that's why. Yeah. All right. So therefore, there's need to engage more frequent to compare notes for the benefits of the traders. We as embassy will try to find the market with the support of the stakeholders who need to play their parts of ensuring stability of supply, diversification of export products, and engaging it in executable agreements. I also want to wish to encourage more visits by traders, all the business community persons to understand the market and to be able to promote their products here in Egypt. I want to thank you again for this opportunity and ask my trade attaché to make our presentation. So when is after his presentation, then you'll be able to give us the feedback. Finally, we are ready here to promote Kenyan products, and that's our business. And last but not least, in order to be able to promote our products in Kenya, it is my humble request that our office partners with your organization to brand Kenya here in Egypt. Especially in branding, we are falling behind. And we hope that KEPROPA will enable us to brand our products across Egypt. Thank you. And let me take the opportunity to invite the trader attaché, Mr. Tobias, to do a presentation. Mr. Tobias.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Balozi. We'll make our presentations and we'll give you exactly what is in the field, some of which have not been documented by the institutions, the international institutions that are mandated to document the international trade data and statistics. So my name is Tobias and I am the commercial attaché for Egypt. And like Balozi has said, we are also accredited to Kingdom of Jordan and the state of Eritrea. And we are hearing that we will be given more. And this is good for us because we are widening the coverage of our search for the Kenyan goods. Where Egypt, for those people who have not known Egypt, Egypt is a country that is located on the northern Kenya, actually the northeastern Kenya, and is bordered by Libya to the east, to the west, and Sudan to the south. To the east, it borders Red Sea, and beyond Red Sea, there's Jordan, where we are also accredited. And to its north, there is also Mediterranean Sea, and also the country that is there to the northeast is Israel. So that is where Egypt is. Now, how have we played our trade with Egypt? In 2024, that is last year, we exported to Egypt a total of 205.9 million against import from Egypt, which was valued at 309 million. And this is definitely the balance of trade is in favor of Egypt. This we will talk to because the balance of trade keeps growing. This we'll talk to, and then we'll find a solution. I will tell you on the ground why and what we can do. Now, some of the imports that are predominantly, from Kenya are tea, of which this time we did 191.6 million worth of tea. Paper and articles of paperboards, we did 4.7. Cut flowers, which is also getting introduced here, we did 2.4. And dates and figs, pineapples, we did 2.3 million. Carton boxes and packaging materials, we did 2.3 million. This 2024. This is actually the graphical presentation, like it plays. You can see there is from 2015 to 2024, we have lagged behind in terms of exports. And we have kind of number one in terms of import from Egypt. So that's the reason why you see the greens steadily growing. And the greens are now the balance of trade. There's no way, there's no time we have ever done it is ever negative. Come up. Now, how is Egypt trade flow and the position in the global? In Egypt, exports in 2024 amounted to 38.8 billion USD, and this made it the 63rd largest exporter in that year. And her lead export destination obviously is Saudi Arabia, with export of 7.7 billion, accounting for 19.9%. And Egypt's chief export products was petroleum and oils obtained from bituminous materials is on land, excluding crude. The country exported approximately 8 billion worth of this product. Come up. And the imports in Egypt, again, is for that year was 77.6 billion. Again, you could see also Egypt is also experiencing, imbalanced trade in favor, which is not favoring it a lot, but not as when we go now bilateral, then we are just busy on how do we close the gaps that we have between us. In the same year, the top source market for Egypt, where it imported most, was China, top of the list. They imported goods worth 16.8 billion, which accounted for the total, the 21.6% of the total imports. The chief imports goods that were that made up this was again petroleum oils and oils obtained from that. And then the country total import was approximated to 3.1 billion. So 3.1 billion and export was that. So you see there is also that. So this is the 25 assorted 25 export destination for Egypt. Number one of them is Saudi Arabia and goes down to that. We are interested in number 21. Kenya. And if you look at it, you could find that market share in our total exports to Egypt, market share is only 0.3, of which we will talk to and see how do we advise and collaborate with the stakeholders to come up this grid. Now, the Kenya's top export to Egypt, as you can see, we are predominantly exporting tea, and I'm glad that our tea is liked in Egypt. We now occupy the market share at 93%, and I'm glad it is growing. Last 2022, it was 89%. Unfortunately, we are exporting tea in loose form, which we will also have to talk to. And our loose form tea that is exported are basically, used for blending And out of this, Egypt still exports tea when it is not growing any bushes. So we will also come to see that. Now, I want you to compare what we are exporting and come to market share. You will see that our market share, apart from tea, is meager 2, 1, 1, 1, some of 0, and all that. And if you look at the products that we are exporting, most of them are agricultural products and in their raw forms. So again, if we are asking ourselves why are we lagging behind in terms of balance of trade, you will realize that if you go to what Egypt is exporting to Kenya, against what Egypt is exporting from Kenya, what Egypt is exporting from to Kenya actually are semi-processed and things that we can still avoid, you know, when we bring in our industrialization, we develop our industrialization field to do some of the things like toiletry and facial tissue. See, they have the market share in Kenya of 8.9. Monitor and projectors, which they don't produce here, they fabricate and bring to us at 6. You look at sanitary towels at 6. Look at organic surface active. These are in Sabunito at 4. Look at yeast and all these things, pasta at 3. So then, if you look at their market share, there is none that is 0 point, and there's none that is even 1, and they're very consistent. And this is the reason why, even though our tea does exemplary well, and then the rest of the things that we are exporting does, like we are seeing here, we can never match them. But there are things that we can avoid and do in Kenya just to make sure that we close the gaps. Now, the main topic of today.
Tobias,
Yes.
if you can stick to English, because there are also foreigners listening in from the other countries.
Okay, I hear you. Now, the main topic of today was how does AfCFTA aid the trade, bilateral trade between us. I want to say, because this was actually meant to boost the intra-Africa trade, but my interest is how does Kenya now get into this? And as you can see, that the intra-Africa trade is estimated at 15%, which is still really very low. This one here now, what does the status of implementation as today of AfCFTA? The AfCFTA creates a single continental market of over 1.4 billion people, a huge market that we can still tap, and is expected to boost about 450 billion USD in Africa by 2035. And that would be just 7% gain when it comes to that. And so far, the AfCFTA has 54 members. Eritrea hasn't signed yet. I don't know the current status, but the time we are going into this, it hadn't signed yet. Move on. What are the achievements of the AfCFTA that we can see so that we can also leverage on? 92.3% of tariff lines under the rules of origin have been agreed upon. Institutionalization and operationalization of the secretariat has been done, and guided trade initiative. This Kenya has really benefited. Really, it was launched in 2022, and it has significantly boosted trade in 8 countries that were selected to test run this. Then establishment of AfCFTA Adjustment Fund, which AfrExim Bank has already committed 1 billion. This again will really help this, and there's something that AfrExim Bank is also working on the PAPs, with the ambassador just talked about, to aid the transactions in our own currencies. And if that comes through, then I think this will really help us in transacting the trade across the African nations. And then over 9 central banks of AU member states and 53 commercial banks are part of the PAPs, which we have talked about. Our Central Bank of Kenya is one of them. Now, what are the challenges that we are experiencing during this phase of implementation of AfCFTA? Of course, the budget constraints, it comes up to be the major challenge, and the contribution from member countries, which are meant to finance this. The budget was only 5, 4, and 7 in 22, 23, and 24 respectively. And then we are not fully interconnected in terms of infrastructure. And this again we will talk to. And so you find that because of this connectivity, I want to talk about some routes that, because of lack of the connectivity as required, if some routes are blocked or encounter problems, then the movement of goods now becomes a problem. The Red Sea recently had lots of problems because of what you now don't want to speak about it. But now this one here has really affected the trade between the East African countries and Egypt, for example, because now the goods have to go down to the Cape Town and then to the West Africa, and adding the cost of doing business. So if we could have the connectivity in terms of roads, then the goods could be reaching the destination faster and safer. Then the harmonization of custom procedures. I think this one here has not also been fully implemented. And again, if this is fully implemented, then the time and all the procedures will be softened, and then the goods will reach the destination as fast as possible. Let's talk about specific opportunities now in Egypt. And this is now our interest. We have both played a leading role under AfCFTA by making considerable progress in our inter-trade initiative. Unlike Kenya, Egypt also has submitted necessary tariff offers under AfCFTA, indicating the readiness to trade under the same. And Kenya and Egypt are working closely really to enhance trade facilitation, particularly in terms of improving cross-border trade, particularly through the local currency transaction settlements. We just talked about it, the Masar just talked about it. AfCFTA is working on it. We are also individually approaching other institutions here. The banks that are agreeing that we could have a talk on how we can pay our goods in our own currencies. And I'm glad that the central banks, both of Kenya and of Egypt, are in talks. And if this goes through, then it will be better that if Egyptian goods gets into Kenya, they are paid in Kenyan shillings. And if our tea or any other product comes to Egypt, then they are paid in Egyptian pounds. Today, we have a bank that is CIB, that is both in Kenya and here, and we are working on that. Another opportunity that we have here is a huge population that is here. Actually, Egyptians are around 113, and plus foreigners, we are adding up to 120. And this is a huge population that can really make a good market for the goods that are coming from outside. Egypt is, I think, 98% desert, and it doesn't grow a lot of things, even though they wanted to. Egypt can never grow tea, Egypt can never grow avocado, Egypt can never grow pineapples. And out of this, we can also take advantage of the conditions around here to bring what is necessary here. needed here to run this huge population. And we, both Kenya and Egypt, we are all both in COMESA. Unfortunately, Egypt is taking a lot of advantage of this over us, and we don't condemn them because we are been given the equal opportunity. So I would just want to urge our stakeholders to take the same opportunity to bring the goods here, which are getting into this place duty-free under COMESA rule. And Egypt has also several promotional activities back at home in KCC and service center almost daily. And this is lacking here. This is really an opportunity that we can also dwell on and so that we promote our goods over here. Recently, like Balozi had just said, we had a state visit here where we had signed several MOUs. And with the implementation of this, we can take advantage of these agreements so that we can also make our trading more efficient. Now, Egypt consumes a lot of meat for sure. And this is a place where we can also take advantage of, although the regulation here is a bit stiffer because for us to import meat into Egypt, it has to be a G2G. So private sector cannot be allowed to do that. And this is the reason why we are calling for a bilateral maybe meeting with the Egyptian government, our government with the Egyptian government, to break through this hurdle. Because as we know back at home, individuals and private sector have a lot of meat. And like here that they are saying that it has to be a government-to-government agreement. We can still do that. So, but I want to assure you that meat, they consume a lot of it. Now, value addition here is also an issue, and I have talked about it, that we have been bringing our things in raw form. And this earns us really very little compared to what Egyptians are bringing back home, which are semi-processed or processed. So value addition here is key to make sure that we also close the gaps in terms of balance of trade. Egypt is actually not a consumer per se of flowers. Occasionally, they use flowers during their weddings and other national occasions. But we have people who are stockists here and supply other regions like Morocco. Now, when we approach them, they take their flowers from Netherlands, which are predominantly Kenyan flowers. So this one here is an opportunity that we have, but we have one problem because we don't have direct flight to here that can bring the flowers as fresh as they are needed. Nuts, and especially cashew, are really needed in Egyptian market. I want to reiterate that during Ramadan, that is just 1-2 months ago, we had an offer of exporting 20-40 feet containers of this product. We did not get even a single container. We did not get. Probably it is because of what might be seen as, we don't have the proper database of these people who are dealing in nuts and especially cashew. So I want to add that we need to have somewhere that we can consolidate the little we have, so that when we have such an opportunity, we can be able to sustain this market. Horticultural markets like pineapples are also much in demand. And I want also to say that a month ago, we also had a request that they wanted pineapple per week of 10-foot containers per week. So, and again, I tried to find out where we can get this back from Kenya, and we did not get. So this again, we need to really work around it. What are the challenges? The challenges are very many, but we have selected just a few. Number one is foreign exchange availability in Egypt. Sometimes the Egypt wants to protect the outflow of foreign currency reserves, and therefore they don't allow the traders just anyhow to transact in this currency, so especially the dollar. So this has been a challenge, but that is what we are trying to. Out of that challenge, we are trying to see the mitigation factors, and we are working on the same. Another thing, and talking on this again, we now have a lot of unscrupulous importers who now pretend, behind the inavailability of enough dollars now to defraud Kenyans, and therefore we will have to see how we can mitigate this. The shipping and logistics, especially for fragile and perishable items like flowers, is a challenge because we don't have direct cargo flights into Egypt. So people who are dealing in this logistics can take this as an advantage to have to aid our goods, especially the fragile and perishable, into this market. Inadequate engagement between the Kenyan business communities, and the Egyptian counterparts. I think also this has been a challenge, and because I've been here and I've been attending the expos around here, and this I'm speaking now to Keproba to coordinate this. You find that here in Egypt, as much as they are doing their expo, their expos in Kenya and elsewhere, they are also steadily doing some here where they get a lot of participants from South America and from West Africa. For example, I have seen Nigeria here a lot. And this one here, makes us disadvantaged because now, like you see, Egypt here is not so much digitized. It is still a very physical market where they believe in what they see and touch. So without us being into this market for visibility, I think we might not go very far. So Keproba must know how to work on this to help our stakeholders come to exhibit their goods over here. Low participation among the Kenyan private sector in promotional activity. I think this is related to what I have just said. Now, there is also one challenge that we have also experienced here, that during the freeze of foreign exchange, the Egyptian tend to classify goods into essential and non-essential. And this one here now makes it difficult for non-essential goods, where under which all products from Kenya, including tea, falls. It makes it very difficult for these goods now to enter into this market, especially during those hard times of foreign exchange reserve. So this one again, we are talking to it, so that we have negotiations between us, so that some of our goods are classified as essential goods. Substandard packaging here. This is what we are talking again. We have received complaints, especially on avocado, that the packaging, standards that were inscribed in import documentation were not matching when they reached the destinations, and therefore some people lost a lot of avocado sometime in 2023. I also want to say that the samples that we have received over here sometime are wanting, because now somebody packages a sample in a brown paper and then staples. So it's difficult even to introduce this into the market, because it totally damages the the image of that product in the first place, even though the product inside the packaging could be as nice as that. But the moment the market sees that it is sealed by stapling, then that, but I have really experienced a lot of improvements from the samples that we have recently received, and that is really encouraging. So this packaging, again, we need to really work on it. Low export volumes, we cannot sustain the market, and this is very predominant with the Kenyan exports into Egypt. You find, like for avocado, when we are off, season, we cannot sustain this market, and the market with in consistency in satisfaction, or we lose this market. So I want to believe that with our aggregation centers that are being developed, we'll have the cold rooms just to make sure that we have enough volumes to sustain back the market in any case we get an opportunity to supply. Then the controlled market access for some products like meat. That this is what I have talked about. That the government here says that for us to bring meat here, it has to be a government supplying a government. So they can't accept the meat from a private sector. So I think, again, this one here, we need to also talk with this government just to mitigate on that. Now, the proposed solutions to these challenges. Number one, which I have not done here, is most of our exporters, it is not bad to get your own client. But the reason why sometimes we are here is to do our own due diligence, just to avert this idea of somebody bringing his goods here because he has met his client on the street, and then you don't know whether this client is credible enough or is genuine enough. And finally, we lose a lot of money because of improper agreement. I want to give an example that there was some people who have lost their money here in terms of exportation of tea. But then now, because our first point of reporting this is Ministry of Foreign Trade over here. But what the first thing they ask you is, where is the agreement? Then when you do when you get them the agreement, then they say it is not indicating that in case of breach, we get in to solve this problem. So, and then they leave you at that, because trade is actually, liberated, and there's non-interference policy on trade. So it makes it difficult for us, again, to follow up. Then we now have to follow up with people who are just dashing into their bushes here and getting lost. We have tried our best, but next time, I think, going forward, we need to have proper agreements with these people. Now, we need to negotiate the essential goods category and classifications, and that we have done during our meeting where we had Egyptians back in Nairobi in May last year. We had this. Actually, I did this, and we had this discussed there, and we are actually working towards this, so that our tea and avocado and any other product that we will deem fit are classified as essential, so that even if there's difficulty in getting foreign currency over here, they can still access this market. Now, comprehensive surveys, market survey is still lacking, and this I would probably associate to my office here, because sometimes lack of proper funding, I am not able to reach everywhere to find market for our products. So we still really need, because Egypt is so large, and the market is very well spread throughout this market. This country. So we really need to have that, and also there is need that the business delegation visit here, so that they also have an opportunity to showcase whatever they want, or whatever they have, because actually we cannot sell from the desk. We have to sell in the market. We can't sell from the debt. We can't sell through brochures. Like I told you, Egypt is a physical market where people want to see and touch and taste. So I think I have shared with Keproba the calendar of events over here. And we want that in your work plan, Keproba, you also have to give Egypt probably some sessions so that you come and plus stakeholders to showcase their goods here. Even once a year would be enough. Now, that goes with the sustained promotional efforts by private sector. That is the same thing that I have talked about. Let's go on. I think that is all from here. Off the cuff again, we can answer the questions that are really burning. So I want to thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard Tobias, for an elaborate presentation. Pretty interesting. You can see so many opportunities for us. As we look at the chat, it's burning with questions, but we'll have a Q&A session after the presenters. So at this point, I would like to welcome Rose Ndunda. Rose is the supervisor, Customs and Border Control Department in KRA. She has the privilege of working with several units within KRA, but currently she's in the trade facilitation division, rules of origin unit. So when you hear this, it's something that maybe gives you some insights. She's had an opportunity to engage with different organizations in terms of the things we're looking at, for example, attending AfCFTA meetings on trade in goods. She has vast experience in the rules of origin and trade facilitation issues as well. So Rose, kindly welcome you to make your presentation. I hope it will be short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. All protocols observed. Kindly allow me to directly go through my presentation, which I will make brief to the point. And I'll take any questions at the end of the presenters. I hope you can see my presentation.
Yes, we can. Please put it in presentation mode.
That's good enough?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to take you through how we facilitate our exporters to access the AfCFTA markets. And I think Shansha kindly allow me to say that for Egypt, as much as it is under AfCFTA, we'll still continue trading with Egypt under COMESA because COMESA is at a higher trade integration level than AfCFTA. So what is the mandate of KRA? We all know that KRA is mandated in collection of government revenue. And the other key mandate of KRA is a trade facilitation. And this is where our topic is going to be on. And in trade facilitation, KRA is a competent designated authority that deals with preferential rules of origin. So we have two rules of origin. We have one that is non-preferential, which is manned by Kenya Chambers of Commerce. And then we have the preferential rules, which are manned by KRA. So what does KRA do under rules of origin to facilitate our traders? We do registration of exporters, and we also carry out compliance checks. And I'm sure we all know the various trade agreements that Kenya is party to, which is EAC, COMESA, AfCFTA. We have now the Kenya UK EPA and Kenya EU EPA. We have AGOA, which deals with the garments, and then we have GSP. So KRA registered exporters who are going to trade at a preference. Then we go ahead now and start issue them with a certificate of origin. And these are like what has to accompany the goods when they're being exported for them to be accorded preferential treatment. We also liaise with the Secretariat and other partner states, or rather to deal with any queries or any correspondences that are related to the rules of origin, so that our products will be given preferential treatment. So what have we done so far with AfCFTA? We have circulated the specimen signatures and stamp impressions of the officers who signed the certificates of origin. KRA has also procured the trading documents, and specifically we have the AfCFTA rules of origin certificates that we issue to our traders who are exporting to countries that are ratified and they are already practicing. Then we have we also conduct stakeholder sensitizations on the rules of origin and on AfCFTA. We support the Guide and Trade initiative, which Mr. Tobias has spoken about. Then I spoke about registration of the exporters who wish to export under the trade agreements. And then we have also gone ahead and set our system so that when you import, when imports are being done, then what is coming from AfCFTA countries will be appointed preferential treatment. So in our ICMS system, the rates have been set. And as you know, that AfCFTA is going to be reducing duties progressively for category A goods. The trade started in 2021 and it will run up to for 10 years up to 2030. That means 2025 being halfway, we are also charging import duty at half the rate. So if it's something that was going to be attracting import duty of 10%, when you import it right now, you will be accorded a 5%. And the same applies to when you export. So in our ICMS system, the declarant is advised to put a code that will allow now the exporter, or rather the importer, to gain preference. So how do we do exporter registration? At the moment, this process is still manual, but we are soon going into ECO, where we'll also do the registration in our ICMS system, the rules of origin module, and issue the CEOs through the system. So actually on Monday, we'll have a training for all the exporters, so that after the training, we can now start onboarding. Actually, we're going to roll out the rules of origin module in the course of this month. So we'll start fresh registrations. But let me tell you how we do the registration manually. The exporter applies to be registered under preference, and then there are the mandatory attachments that they have to attach. This is the business registration form, the PIN certificates, and the business licenses where applicable. When these documents are lodged in the front office, then we schedule for field verification, where we'll have to come to the factory and go through the production process and confirm that the products that are being exported will qualify in whichever criteria stated under the protocol. And then we'll give the registration number that the exporter will have to be putting in their certificates of origin. Like I have said, by the end of this month, we're going to be doing this process in the system. And on Monday, we'll be taking our exporters through the system, how they'll be doing the application, how we're going to reschedule the verifications, what details they will need to be putting in the system. Because once this data is collected, then it is what we're going to be using for as long as this exporter is registered. Under the protocol, someone can qualify, or rather a company or an exporter will qualify to export under preference if the products are really obtained in the country or if they have undergone substantial transformation. In a spirit of keeping time, since when we do this as KRA, we go through the criteria. Allow me to just mention and go on ahead. And then we also, during our sensitizations, we also take our exporters through the AfCFTA available tools, which are very important for them. For example, we have the AfCFTA e-tariff book, which will guide the exporter to know when they're exporting or they're importing, has this product been negotiated? Can it be, will it gain preference when it's exported or imported? So when you visit this site, you will put where the products are being exported from and where they're being imported into, and you put the correct tariff classification, and to be able to know if they will ensure preference when you export them to that country and at what import duty rate. Then we have the African Trade Observatory site, where you get real-time quantitative and qualitative data on what is being traded in the continent. Allow me to tell you what products have been exported so far from Kenya, and we've exported to Ghana, Nigeria, Mozambique, Togo, South Africa, and Senegal, to mention a few, with an approximate value of 5 million. And some of the products that have been exported, you can see them here. We have tea, we have honey, mango puree, aluminum coils, and articles of plastic, sorry. So what are we doing as KRA? We've spoken about automation so that we make clearance and exportation faster for our clearing agents. For our exporters, sorry. Then we have capacity building for both staff and the external stakeholders who are the exporters. We have established liaison desks at our entry and exit points. And we have an increase in the stakeholder engagements, and that is why we even partner with other government agencies who are going to be speaking to our stakeholders on AfCFTA, so that we together advise our exporters. So that is a sample of certificate of origin that we issue to our exporters. It's in 2 pages, but in a nutshell, that's how it appears like. And these are our contacts where you can get us. Our email is rulesoforigin@kra.go.ke, and that is our phone number. Let me mention again that under AfCFTA, we will only use AfCFTA if you're not in EAC and in COMESA, because both COMESA and EAC are at a higher trade integration level than AfCFTA. Thank you, and over to you. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rose. We'll take the questions after all the presenters have gone through. But we are still responding to the questions in the Q&A. So as panelists, we request you to also just check the Q&A and see which questions you can respond to. At this point, I'd like to invite my co-moderator, Mr. Dennis Mogambi, to take over from here. Dennis?
Thank you, Miriam, and thank you, Rose, for that presentation, and thank you for our participants who have joined us on this webinar. Just to take over from Mariam, in terms of the program, we are supposed the next item is a presentation from Kenya Bureau of Standards, and we have with us Veronica, who is going to take us through a presentation focusing on compliance to standards so as to enhance exporters' competitiveness in accessing the AfCFTA markets. Allow me to introduce Veronica. Veronica, she's a Principal Quality Assurance Officer at KEBS, and she has a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry. She has 17 years of experience in conformity assessment, and her work focuses on providing standardization and conformity assessment services to safeguard consumers and facilitate trade for a sustainable future. She works closely with the manufacturers, importers, and exporters to enhance KEBS product quality certification marks. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Madam Veronica to take us through our presentation. Welcome, Veronica.
Everyone. As we've been told, my name is Veronica Kivengia from Kenya Bureau of Standards. I'll take you through the KEBS mandate. Kenya Bureau of Standards was established in 1974 through the enactment of the Standards Act, CAP 496, to provide standardization, metrology, and conformity assessment services. Its mandate, as indicated in my slides, in a nutshell, is to ensure that products and services produced...
Veronica, please
yes,
put up your presentation.
Is it okay? Are you able to see my slides?
Not yet.
Hey,
You can see? Are you able to see?
Not yet. It's not yet visible. Okay, as you sort that out, Dennis, please maybe let's allow someone else to present as Veronica sorts this issue out.
Yes, Mariam. The next presenter was Evelyn from Kenya Network Agency, Kentrade. I'll request Evelyn to bring up our presentation as I introduce us so that maybe we can save on time. Evelyn will be presenting on how exporters can use the single window system to lodge documents and access the AfCFTA market. In terms of our profile, allow me just a minute to... Evelyn is the head of marketing and business development division at Kentrade. She has 20 years of experience in facilitation, port operations, logistics, marketing, and communications. She previously worked for Kenya Port Authority, and experience also is around single window implementation secretariat, where she has been working, and she has she owns a bachelor's degree in marketing communications and a diploma in marketing, and a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing UK. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Evelyn through our presentation. Welcome, Evelyn, if your PowerPoint is ready.
Thank you, Dennis. Should I just go ahead and present mine, or would you project from your end?
Well, if you're able to project from your end, it's much appreciated.
Okay. Right. So I'll appreciate if you can let me know whether you're able to view my presentation. Okay.
Not yet, probably. Try again.
Yes, just a minute.
We're able to see it now. You can carry on.
I'm trying to put it on slideshow. Just 1 second.
All right. Perfect. You can carry on now. Thank you.
It on slideshow now. Are you able to see?
Yes, quite okay now.
Okay. All right. So good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. My name, as you have heard, is Evelyn Wamai from Kenya Trade Network Agency, and ours is to just appreciate AfCFTA for allowing us to participate at this webinar. So quickly, we'll just give you a brief, and I know this morning we're here to discuss more on the exports opportunities insofar as AfCFTA is concerned, and my focus.
Evelyn, sorry, I think you can take it back to slide mode. I think it has gone back to try again.
All right, slide mode. Yes. Okay.
Yes, okay now. Thank you.
That should be okay, isn't it? Okay.
It's fine now. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So as I was saying that, so the focus for us this morning as Kentrade is to just give a presentation on the efforts we've made insofar as exports are concerned and how it is that the system is able to facilitate exports insofar as to Egypt or insofar as the AfCFTA framework is concerned. And so quickly, I'll give you a brief of who we are before I just get into what it is that we've done, the initiatives we're doing in that space. So Kenya Trade Network Agency is a corporation and national treasury and economic planning were established by Act of Parliament in 2022. And our main objective is to facilitate trade. So we're looking at both international trade and domestic trade, and of course, implement the single window system, which is what we'll be discussing a little bit more today. So our key functions, of course, establish the National Electronic Single Window System, whose key focus is to facilitate trade, implement policies relating to the system, of course, integrate other systems for other PGAs who are relevant to the cargo logistics framework, maintain a database, collect trade statistics, which I'll mention a little bit just in passing, and then, of course, look at how we can monitor some of these programs when it has to stakeholders involved. Now, quickly, a case for the single window system. Before, what we had is what you can see on the screen, a haphazard way of conducting trade, submission of documents, which was very, very disorganized. There was no form of structure. And so we, as Kenya Trade Network Agency, were put in place to ensure that we brought in some normalcy or some structure in how documentation was being processed. So this haphazard way of doing business was quite costly. It was very lengthy. It had of course, there were poor controls. The regulatory agencies everyone was just mismatched. Everyone was just doing their own thing. There was a lack of transparency. And all efforts to try and facilitate trade were very, very uncoordinated. So another justification as to why we needed to have a single window system is one of them is the UNC Fact Recommendation number 33, which clearly stipulates the importance of having a single window system within a country and the role. And of course, it maps out the kind of steps to take when you're implementing a single window system. Of course, then other frameworks is the WCO, the World Customs Organization framework and standards, WTO, among others. So in a quick way, this is how the single window system looks like. We have on one end a trader, in the middle we have now what the single window system 6 is meant to achieve. It is a single entry portal point for stakeholders and importers and exporters to submit their regulatory documents, which are then submitted to regulatory agencies on the far end, which is Kenya Revenue Authority, Kenya Ports, and many others that are required to view, either approve, view, or have process the documentation. Now, so quickly as an update, we started operating in 2013. So far, we have over 20 registered system users within the system itself. We have onboarded 42 partner government agencies who have to undertake some activity within the system, either to approve, to facilitate, to review. And then we also have integration. So of course, to partner with these partner government agencies, we have to integrate, especially for the ones that have systems in place. And so we have been able to complete 7 PGAs integrations and of course others we are reviewing to see the potential of how we can do it. We have had over 800,000 transactions annually. And then of course we have upgraded. So a key thing for us, we upgraded in 2021 to what now we are calling the trade facilitation platform, which really is now addresses challenges that are faced by the business community. The new upgrade was informed by what it is that we gathered in the industry, the challenges that our stakeholders were facing, and that of course informed largely how that upgrade was going to look like. Of course, we're looking at how we can reduce costs by system enhancements. Anytime you have to integrate or you have to onboard a new stakeholder, there are enhancements that have to be undertaken, and those can be very costly. So we had to now look at a system that can accommodate those changes without some unnecessary costs. And then, of course, use cutting edge technologies. Of course, technologies have continued to advance over the years. And so, of course, we have very many emerging technologies that we felt were important for us to embrace, even as we are seeking to serve our stakeholders better. Quickly, some of our services, we have the marine cargo insurance, we have the info trade, which I'll mention to you in a bit, trade finance, how we can provide finances for anyone wishing and looking to get into the trade facilitation space, the digital logistics marketplace, which is a platform we are providing for stakeholders interested in finding business within the trade logistics industry, so they can have that platform, so they're able to bid, they're able to submit their bids within an ecosystem that allows them to seek for competitively for services that they require. We also have the maritime single window, and then of course the business intelligence tool, which we have officially rolled out and is working very well. So in terms of now the exports and why we are discussing this morning, we're looking at specifically the exports and really why the single window is important. And as I mentioned earlier, the TradeNet system is, of course, an automated system. It enables the registration of pre-clearance documents for shipping purposes efficiently. Okay, and of course, it serves as a central hub for all trade-related information, which allow for exchanges between various stakeholders. It allows the stakeholders, of course, to submit documentation and receive electronic permits related to their import and export, but more specifically also for this case this morning, exports through the system. And of course, because of the integrations that we already have in place, then we're able to integrate various government agencies so that documentations are shared across to the various platforms. Now, in terms of lodgement, which is why we're presenting. So of course, exporters who are interested in accessing the markets, accessing the Egyptian market, accessing and working on the framework, can lodge all required export documentation through the single window system. We've allowed that. Our system allows both import and export. So if you have any export documentation, preliminary documentations that are required, any documents that are required for you to be able to export. Our system is built in a way that it can facilitate that. It does eliminate the need to submit physical documents to multiple agencies. Of course, then that means it reduces time and saves you on cost as an importer. And then, of course, within the system itself, within KenTrade itself, we have provided guidance on the required documents for the different types of goods that are required for your export transactions to the specific markets. I did hear earlier on Mr. Tobias mentioning that we've had tea going into Egypt, we have fruits and so on. So now we have that information that will provide in so far as the specific requirements that you need when you're putting together documents to go into that market. Now, this quote unquote, I'd call it a catalog, is found in the infotradekenya.go.ke, which provides you with a step-by-step guide on what it is that you require as an exporter to, say, for example, Egypt, depending on the cargo that you want to send. So if it's tea, it will give you a breakdown on what it is that you require, the specific documentation that you need, the various offices that you need to see. If there are specific permits that you need to get before or prior, then the InfoTrade portal is a platform that will provide you with detailed information and how that you will be able to do that. And then, of course, you're able to track the status of your documents, export documents, and you're able to receive any notifications as you process. Now, as a preliminary, of course, just to mention in passing, you need to have, as an exporter, you're required to have your certain information or documents ready prior to coming to the single window system. You have to have done your prior homework, you've done your compiling your list or to-do list before you get, of course, some of the documentation that you also need to have ready. I mentioned just a few, the sales agreement, packing list, certificate of origin that was mentioned by my colleague from KRA. And then, of course, you will need the permits that are required for you to do. Now, once you have all this documentation ready, then that's when you're able now to begin your process. Of course, the single window system will facilitate you to be able now to get the requisite permits for you to be able to proceed. Now, in terms of the benefits, the single window system provides to stakeholders. It's a single entry point for all your export-related and export-related documentation information. It aims to reduce the complexity, time, and cost associated with international trade activities. Of course, it will, reduce time in preparing, submitting your documents as well. And then it also gives you access to information as and when you require it. Now, in terms of as the agency, some of the activities, the role as KenTrade itself that we are playing or we have played in ensuring that facilitating stakeholders within to be able to take advantage of the AfCFTA framework. One of the things that we have done is looking at how we have streamlined our processes just to make it easy for that. Provision of the necessary information. The InfoTrade portal I've mentioned, that is one of the things that we've also done to enable exporters wishing to take advantage of that framework to be able to access and easily access information. And then, of course, market access is something that we're working very closely with KEPROBA to ensure that we are creating awareness on how our stakeholders can be able to take advantage of the markets. This forum in itself is something that, we have shared with our stakeholders far and wide to be able to also to participate so they can get an understanding of what markets and what is available out there in terms of exports to these specific countries, so that they're able to take advantage of that. And thirdly, another thing we've also undertaken is capacity building to ensure that we're creating awareness. It's one thing to have a framework in place, and it's another thing to actually take advantage of it. So if you do not have any awareness of how to take advantage of it, then it doesn't become useful to you as an exporter. So one of the things that we've engaged in is capacity building to be able to equip potential exporters with the necessary knowledge and information to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that lie in the framework. And that's something that we have done. We've actually gone out and partnered with our donor partners to be able to go into the communities. We've been able to go to counties so that we're able to create as much of an awareness as we can for them to be able to take advantage of that. And then last but not least, of course, is information sharing. with the BI tool, we have quite a bit of information that is being harvested because as a result of the process through the single window system. So we have quite a bit of information that we harvest or we get that can be able to, we're able now to use that information to create awareness, to enable stakeholders to be able to understand what is it that is out there to enable them make informed decisions when it comes to, say, market growth, if they're looking to go into different markets, like, for example, now the Egyptian market. That tool is enabling us to be able to harvest that information. And so as a result of that, we're able to share key statistics to stakeholders who are interested in understanding how then do they access these markets. And then last but not least, marketing initiatives. That's something that we are doing to be able to create awareness. We are creating awareness on the potential of the AfCFTA framework, and even as we go into the counties and transgressing the communities, just to be able to enable them understand what it is, what's in it for them, the advantages that lie therein, and how they can take advantage of those activities. And so that has been something that we've been very, very passionate about, to be able to make sure that stakeholders get this awareness. So with that, I just want to hand it over back to our moderator, and we'll look at the questions as they're being posted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. That was a wonderful presentation from Kentrade, and we appreciate your support. And I know we have worked together in many of these forums, and really appreciate your presence. At this point, I'll go back to Veronica from KEBS to take us through her presentation and done an introduction. So I'll just add over to her to take us through her presentation. So Veronica, we are able to see your PowerPoint. Maybe you can put it in, that's okay. You can take over the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning once again. Allow me to give you a brief about Kenya Bureau of Standards. KEBS is a government agency under the State of Department for Industry in the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. KEBS was established in 1974 through the enactment of the Standards Act, CAP 496, to provide standardization, metrology, and conformity assessment services. So its mandate is guided by several services. KEBS offers standardization services, conformity assessment services, facilitation of trade through implementation, development and implementation of standards, information services, that is the standards through the WTO, where KEBS operates the national inquiry point in support of the WTO agreements on technical barriers to trade and facilitates trade in accordance with the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa treaties. We also do trainings and education through the National Quality Institute, and the training calendar for the 2024-2025 financial year is accessible through the KEBS website, www.kebs.org. KEBS' vision is to be a global leader in standard-based solutions for trade and sustainable development, with a mission to provide, as I've said, standardization, metrology, and conformity assessment services that safeguard consumers and facilitate trade for sustainable future. That's standards for quality life. KEBS operates under the strategic direction 2023-2027, and key about this strategic direction is the focus in providing capacity building for traders with a focus of 3,500 in the financial year 2025-2026. We are currently at 2,500. Another focus, which is very key to exporters, is increase of number of market-driven harmonized African standards from 17 to 128, and we are currently at 75. Another focus is on reducing the timeline to harmonize or adopt standards from an average of 12 months to 6 months, and currently we are at 10 months. So what are standards? Standards are documents that provide requirements, specifications, and guidelines that can be used consistently to ensure that materials, products, and processes and services are fit for their purpose. One of the key important aspects to think about when you think about standards is in facilitation of trade, protection of consumers, as well as protection of an environment. So for international market standard guidelines, now considering that most of our exports from Kenya is majorly in agricultural products, dried or fresh produce, is in terms of the Codex Alimentarius standards. These are a selection of standards that give guidelines on practices, good practices or best practices in the processing, handling, and packaging of these products. And key to these standards is on the maximum residue limits for pesticides. For some of us who are exporting agricultural products, the general principles for food hygiene to ensure hygienic handling processes and storage facilities, the control of aflatoxins and agrotoxins in dried produce for those who are exporting dried produce, food additives and contaminants, those are regulating preservatives and heavy metals. So what is key about the exportation market is that as exporters, we need to be aware of the applicable standards which concern our products, and especially the country-specific standards where we are sending our products. So for agricultural products, fresh or dried, we need to look at the good agricultural practices, and these standards are available. What is it that we are supposed to comply with for us, for having our products to be acceptable in the international market? We have the GAP, the Good Agricultural Practice, which ensures sustainable farming practices and quality agricultural products. This certification is required for export to some of the regions, either the EU or high-end markets, and it is very important for us as exporters to understand the process for this certification and what is expected of us. The key focus areas is on the safety with respect to the pesticide use and withdrawal periods, proper irrigation and water management, the post-harvest handling to prevent contamination, work hygiene and traceability, and the applicable products are fresh and dried fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, and many more. These standards are accessible through the KEBS web store. You can also get in touch with the e-library through the KEBS website, and you'll be able to get what we call the codes of practice that will guide in the processing and the manufacturing of some of these agricultural products. Why is the GAP certification important? It's important because it's often a prerequisite for export markets, especially in the EU. So it's also very important to know the export market target that you are targeting, their requirements, and their country-specific standards so that you can be able to comply to their requirements. For those who are going the organic farming for markets that demand the organic produce, it is also very important for us to know the applicable standard for those products. When it comes to the Kenya Organic Agricultural Networks, you consider no synthetic pesticides or fertilizers used, sustainable soil and biodiversity practices, regular audits and traceability. So they will also need to get to understand your documentation and what is it that you are putting in place to ensure that these products for export are safe for our consumers. So we have applicable products for applicable product standards also for products like coffee, tea, dried fruits, herbs, and vegetables. Now that Kenya is majorly exporting tea to Egypt, it's also good for our exporters to get access of these codes of practice for handling these fresh produce or the dried produce so that we can be able to first comply with the national standards before we even try to get in touch with the specific requirements of the country standards. It is very important so that you can be able to access premium priced markets once we are very sure that our products are able to meet the requirements of the set standards. So we have different categories of market standards depending on your export target. It is very important for us as exporters to get to know, It's very important for us as exporters to get to know the category of standards sorry for that. It's good to know the category of standards that are applicable to the countries where we are exporting. For example, we have this Codex Alimentarius. As I said, this is a collection of internationally recognized standards or codes of practice that are there to give us guidelines and other recommendations on what is expected of our products, even before we start exporting the products. We have what we call the regional and county-specific standards. KEBS has been at the forefront in harmonizing standards from the national standards to the regional standards, currently actively participating in the harmonization of the African standards. KEBS is an active member of the Africa Organization for Standardization, HARSO, and other international standards bodies such as ISO, IEC. It's also a member of BIPM and Codex Alimentarius. This ensures that these standards have been, can be recognized at the regional level. So if as exporters we are able to meet the requirements of these standards, which have been harmonized, then it means we'll have an easy time when we are trying to comply with the requirements of the specific country standards that we are exporting our products into. Then we have the labeling and packaging requirement. This is very key. When it comes to the labeling and packaging requirements, the standards are very clear on how this product is supposed to be labeled. This product is supposed to be packaged so that we don't have issues at the border points or the entry points when we are transferring or exporting these products to the Egypt market. So we have what we call the hazard analysis and critical control points. So for agricultural products, this is very key for issues of food safety management system, and this ensures that we prevent contamination and consistency in terms of quality for agricultural and dried produce. What is key about the HACCP is the identification of the hazards, the critical control points, the monitoring and corrective actions, and the applicable product standards. These codes of practice have been developed. Some of them have been harmonized, and the ones which have not been harmonized, they're in the progress of being harmonized so that we can move from the national standards to the African standards. And this will be acceptable at the regional level. Why is it important? It's because this is mandatory for exports to certain countries. So if we're exporting to Egypt, for example, you need to look at the requirements for Egypt. Is it mandatory for us to have implemented the hazard analysis and critical control points? So once we identify that and we implement, then it becomes very easy for us to export our products to Egypt. For the East African community markets, KEBS has, together with the East African community, harmonized the standards from the national standard to the ESA standard. This mutual agreement of marks, and that is where KEBS comes in. When it comes to the local market, it is mandatory for the local products that are manufactured, where applicable, to have the mandatory product quality marks. We have what we call the diamond mark of quality, which is a mark of excellence, which demonstrates that a product has consistently demonstrated exemplars consistency in quality. Then we have the standardization mark, which is a mandatory mark for products that are produced locally. And we also have the food fortification logo for products that have been identified in collaboration with the Ministry of Health. Once these products are able to meet the local requirements in terms of the product quality, then it becomes very easy. Once they bear these marks of quality, for them to be able to penetrate into the international market. And then for agricultural products, we have what we call the COMESA Green Pass certification, which facilitates intra-African trade. It's important because it makes easier to trade within the regional partners. So For agricultural exports, as exporters, it is very important for us to ensure that we succeed. For us to succeed in the national market, we must comply to the regulations that have been set, either the Codex, the HACCP, or the GAP standards for safety and quality. It is also good for us to know that we are supposed to obtain the necessary certifications, and these will ease the burden of the back and forth, the entry points during the exportation. We adhere to the MRLs for pesticides, aflatoxin limits, and food hygiene levels. Then we meet the country-specific requirements. That is very key. We meet the country-specific requirements. That means even before we start exporting that product to Egypt, it's also very important to know what are the country-specific requirements for that product. What is it we are what are the requirements? You look at their standards, what is it that they need? Then we comply even before we start exporting this product. And this makes our work easy when it comes to the export. Then we ensure proper labeling and packaging. It is very important to ensure that we do a proper labeling and packaging requirements because it really communicates a lot about our product. These requirements are available in the specific standards for the product and the codes of practice, and regardless of the destination, especially for dried and agricultural produce, there are strict requirements for labeling which are required, especially the basic ones, like the product name and description, the country of origin. The consumers want to know where is this product coming from, the net weight, production and expiry date, the batch number and traceability code, storage conditions, and any other certification logo that is required for that specific market. This is very important because if we don't meet the labeling requirements, we may undergo the export rejections at the border points because they will not be able to also identify which product it is and where it is coming from. As I said, KEBS operates an inquiry point, a national inquiry point in support of the WTO agreement on technical barriers to trade and facilitates trade in accordance with the common market for COMESA Treaty. The role of KEBS in this office is in setting and enforcing national standards, product services, and systems in Kenya. The WTO sets the global rules for trade between nations, including frameworks for product standards. KEBS aligns with WTO guidelines to facilitate smooth international and avoid trade barriers. So it acts as a communication point between the WTO office and the Kenyan exporters. So being the central communication point, the role of KEBS is to disseminate information concerning the international market and also help Kenyans exports meet the necessary criteria by sharing information of what is expected in the market of export. And also in terms of dispute resolution, where there are trade disputes related to standards or regulations, Kenya Bureau of Standards involves WTO in trying to resolve such issues. So KEBS is the key authority involved in defending the standards. So the functions of the National Inquiry Point at KEBS is to prepare and notify the WTO Secretariat, as I've said, of new or revised standards. So once these standards have been developed or they have been revised, now it is the role of KEBS to notify the WTO of this particular standard that has been developed or has been revised, and any other technical regulations or conformity assessment procedures that are supposed to be followed. Then once this communication is disseminated even to our stakeholders through the KEBS web store, then it becomes very easy for the exporter to understand the requirements related to that product. KEBS also responds to inquiries on technical regulations, standards, and conformity assessment procedures. So if you have any inquiries you need to make regarding the technical regulations, any new standards that have been developed, standards that have been revised, then KEBS is there to respond to such inquiries. Then as required by the WTO office, KEBS compiles and forwards a biannual work program bulletin in support of the international trade. In terms of technical barrier to trade notification, it is very important for us as exporters to know the importance of this notification and what kind of information we are able to get from these notifications. This notification gives us an early warning system for exporters. So it prevents surprises. You already know what is expected from the other side of the market, and that reduces the risk, because the risk of rejection of your goods, because the moment you are aware of what is expected of your product in the other market, then it becomes very easy for you to counterattack any risk that could come from the product not meeting the requirements. It also ensures compliance and facilitates market access. So once we disseminate this information, then for the exporters, it becomes very easy to know which market is fit for our product and where can our product easily access this market. So another insight is on market preferences. It is very easy once we get this notification for us to know the business trends, identify the potential opportunities. Like, for example, now there's a potential opportunity in Egypt. Innovate and align these products. So through this notification, you can be able to know which country can be able to export your product, depending on the preference of that country. Then in terms of gaps, you can be able to know which points of areas where the regulations are not yet wide supply of compliant of products. So in case of any gaps, you can be able to get that information. So I know the question would be how to get these notifications. There's what we call a notification monitoring tool, that is the HIPPING, SPS, and TBT platform. So if you log into that website, www.tps, www.hipping, you can be able to get all the notifications. You can be able to get all the inquiries about the international trade. You can be able to get all the information that has been disseminated by the Kenya Bureau of Standards, either regarding any new regulations or revised standards or all the codes of practice or a line of what is it expected of you to export that product to the other market. So for us as exporters, it is very important for us to be able to navigate through this platform, get as much information about our export market as much as possible. It's also very important for us exporters also to navigate through the KEBS website, www.kebs.org. Our online services access the standards. You'll be able to see the standards that are in the process of harmonization. You'll also be able to see the standards that have been revised, and you'll also be able to purchase the standard online. That way you will be well informed on what is expected of you when it comes to the compliance of the product. It is always very important for our products to first comply, because remember, as we are developing these standards or we are revising these standards, we want to ensure that as a country, our products are able to meet global market standards. And for our products to be able to meet global market products standards, then it means they should also be able to meet the national standards which have been set. So these standards are available. You can be able to access these standards. You can be able to go through the standards and understand what is required of us. The products that can be able to get the certification, the local certification, that is the mandatory standardization mark. This certification, the application is online. You navigate through the KEBS website, the KEBS information management system, when you go through the online services, you'll get all that information provided at the website. You can apply for the local certification first, have your product certified so that they can also be recognized in the international market. Thank you so much. Back to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for such an elaborate presentation. I know we are running out of time, but noon, we have one more presentation to go, and without much ado, I want to introduce our next presenter, which is Celia Were from KIPI. Our presentation will be on the role of KIPI in terms of facilitating trade within the CFTA. Veronica Duak, in of our bio, is the assistant manager in charge of legal services and as well as assistant registrar of trademarks at KIPI with over 13 years of experience in intellectual property. She's a lawyer by profession with a degree in law and a postgraduate diploma from Kenya School of Law, and she's an advocate of High Court of Kenya. So with that, I want to add over to Cecilia to take us through a PowerPoint. Welcome, Cecilia. Concilia, not Cecilia, Concilia Were. Sorry for that.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for that introduction. All protocol observed. Good afternoon. I'll take you through the role of KIPI in facilitating trade within the AfCFTA. Sorry, my slides are not moving. Okay, thank you. So KIPI is a state corporation under the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, and we are under the State Department of Industry. And this institution was established under the Industrial Property Act of 2001. KIPI administers two acts of parliament. One is the Industrial Property Act of 2001, which deals with patents, utility models, industrial designs. And we have the Trademarks Act, Cap 506, which deals with trade and service marks. So KIPI is mandated to promote inventive and innovative activities and also to facilitate acquisition of industrial property rights. When I talk about industrial property rights, I mean patents, trademarks, industrial designs, and utility models. So in terms of the functions, KIPI usually considers applications for grant and register industrial property rights. This means that when you have, for example, an invention or an innovation or a distinctive sign that you're using on your product, then you will approach KIPI and KIPI will examine that invention, innovation, or that distinctive sign and decide whether to register it as an industrial property right or not. We also do screen technology transfer agreements and licenses. So you find that there is transfer of various technologies, and we usually screen such technology transfer agreements to ensure that they are in compliance with the law. And similarly on issues of licenses where, for example, a trademark owner can give permission to another person to use their trademark. So this is just basically permission. We usually also screen such license agreements to ensure that they are in compliance with the law. In addition, we also provide to the public industrial property information for technological and economic development. So you'll find that we have databases of various technologies that have been protected, and this information can actually be accessed by any person who is interested in a specific technology. In addition, on our website, you can also find various technologies that have expired. And this just gives an opportunity for any person who is interested in utilizing such expired technologies to be able to utilize, because there will be no issues on infringement of those rights, because once, for example, a patent expires, then it means that it falls into the public domain, and that means that anybody can be able to access that technology without any legal issues on infringement. As I've said, we also promote inventive and innovative activities in Kenya and organize and conduct training, competitions, and awards relating to industrial property matters. The anchoring on issues of intellectual property rights is mainly in the Constitution through Article 40, Sub-Article 5. And this article gives the state an obligation to support, promote, and protect the intellectual property rights of the people of Kenya. Of course, KIPI as an organization facilitates the achievement of these provisions, and to ensure that we actually do promote and protect the rights of the people of Kenya. And under Article 11, Sub-Article 1, the state also is obligated to promote all forms of national and cultural expressions. Under Article 69, 1C and E, there is also an obligation that is placed on the state to promote traditional knowledge and genetic resources. And in terms of the definition of property as provided for under Article 260C, you find that intellectual property is actually defined as property. And this means that this is actually a right, just like any other property, and therefore it should be given consideration when you're considering other rights. We're talking about, for example, human rights. Intellectual property would also still fall under such rights. So on issues of AfCFTA and intellectual property, the AfCFTA protocol on intellectual property rights was adopted by the AU Assembly on its 36th ordinary session in Addis Ababa. This means that the protocol on IP is actually very effective. And this protocol includes a preamble and 7 parts or chapters and has 42 articles. And in terms of the content and the various rights to be protected, we have plant variety rights, geographical indications, trademarks, patents, industrial designs, utility models, copyright and related rights, layout designs of integrated circuits, traditional knowledge, cultural expressions, and the issue of genetic resources and undisclosed information, or what we would otherwise call trade secrets. So you find that most of these rights that have been provided for under the protocol are actually provided under the Kenyan law. So then what is KIPI's role in facilitating trade within the AfCFTA? And one of the things that we are keen on is facilitating IP protection for Kenyans and AfCFTA member states. So we are not only considering Kenyans, but we're also considering the AfCFTA member states. And when you're talking about protection, we want to ensure that Kenya and AfCFTA member states' IP rights are actually protected and respected. And when you talk about protection, there is the aspect of registration and also the aspect of enforcement. So KIPI helps Kenyan and AfCFTA member states businesses to register their patents, their utility model, trademarks, and industrial designs. And we also facilitate enforcement of IP rights, therefore allowing Kenyan and AfCFTA member states businesses to be safeguarded and their innovations also safeguarded. And of course, we do work on supporting innovation, licensing, and technology transfer. As I was explaining the mandate of KIPI, one of the key issues I highlighted was on screening technology transfer agreements and licenses. So this is very key for us, and we actually encourage local innovation through effective IP protection and also help the Kenyan companies to leverage on AfCFTA market access. We also train and create awareness on intellectual property rights, and in particular industrial property rights. And by this, we offer training programs to the Kenyan entrepreneurs and businesses to help them understand what is the value of the intellectual property rights that they do have. And in addition, there are also awareness programs on how to use IP to enhance competitiveness in the AfCFTA market. And we have had a focus on the SMEs because we intend to support SMEs and startups to be able to, access the market, because IP is a tool for growth. In that case, we usually offer advisory services, and this helps to make it easier for the MSMEs to be able to protect their inventions. We work on making the MSMEs understand that their products would fit or access the markets better if they are well branded. And in terms of supporting youth, KIPI also provides a fee waiver if requested to allow the youth to be able to protect their invention. So the youth under the Young Scientists Kenya have an opportunity to get a fee waiver if they want to protect their innovations. And in terms of supporting MSMEs also to be able to navigate through the technical challenges in terms of filing, we have partnered with the World Intellectual Property Organization to come up with a program known as the Inventor Assistance Program, which helps innovators to be able to get free or pro bono services from our patent agents, and this assists them to be able to navigate technical challenges and legal challenges when it comes to preparation of documents for filing, and also to go through the filing processes. And of course, the aspect of regional IP cooperation is very important. One aspect about intellectual property is that intellectual property protection is territorial. And this means that you can only enforce in that jurisdiction or in that country where you have protected that IP right. And this is very critical, especially when you're navigating through regional or international markets. So what we are trying to do is to work with regional IP bodies, like, for example, the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization and OAPI, to try to ensure that there is harmonization of IP rules across the various countries. And this, of course, is aimed at ensuring that there is smooth trade under the AfCFTA. And we are working towards also enhancing competitiveness of Kenyan products. What we tell our MSMEs is that your products will move through the regional and international markets if they are well branded. There is no way you're going to carry your tea in a sack and you expect to, get a better value. There's the aspect of value addition, which also improves the product. So we are looking at global competitiveness of the Kenyan products. And so we're also working towards fostering that regional integration, because IP rights are crucial in integrating African economies by allowing businesses to capitalize on this common market that we have been talking about. So for the future, we are working on expanding our IP awareness programs, promoting innovation, and of course, working on the aspect of regional cooperation, continued regional cooperation, so that we ensure that there is harmonization of the IP systems across Africa to enable us to create a seamless trading environment for the Kenyan businesses and even the AfCFTA member states businesses. So as an organization, we play a vital role in enabling Kenyan businesses to benefit from the AfCFTA by, of course, protecting the intellectual property rights. KIPI helps to enhance productivity and competitiveness and foster innovation and ensure that our businesses thrive in the continental market. I hope I've been able to utilize my time well. I'm available for questions, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Faith, for such a wonderful presentation. Much appreciated. I know we are running out of time. next agenda in our program was to have a Q&A session, an interactive session where we'll have questions from the participants, answers from ourselves at Kiproba and our partner institutions, KRA, KEPS, Embassy in Cairo, Egypt, and the rest of us in the program. So allow me at this point to invite my colleague Peterson to take us through this part of the program, and we'll take the shortest time possible because I know we're almost past the time we had intended to end at 12:25. It's now 12:23. So I'll allow Peterson to take over and bring us to the close of the program. Over to you, Peterson.
Thank you, Dennis and Mariam, for moderation. I first want to acknowledge that I've also learned from my colleagues who have presented before to us a lot of information regarding their areas of expertise and how they can support Kenyans to export to Cairo and any other market within the AfCFTA. Now, my assignment at this point is to find out if there is any question that may not have been addressed from the presentations that have been made, and I'm sure you've seen my responses to a number of the questions that have been aired. I want to say that I want to invite the participants to kindly raise your hand to say which question that to air which question that you think may need to be clarified. But we have also shared information regarding the contact details of our commercial attaché to so that you can progress a better understanding of the market beyond today. So let me see if there are any questions that have been put on the chat. Anyone who wants to raise a concern that needs to be addressed by our colleagues? How can an SME go about receiving advisory support by KIPI? I think my colleague Cecilia has already given us how you can access KIPI services. Is there anybody wishing to raise any concern regarding what has been presented both to us and the presenters?
Hello,
Anyone?
hi.
Yes.
Regarding my question on KIPI, she mentioned that the advisory services exist, but she did not mention whether we email, whether we go to KIPI. How do you actually access the advisory support? Is it free? That's the information we're looking for.
Okay, Consilia. Thank you, Consilia.
Thank you so much for that question. I think I had typed something on the chat, but just to further on it, you can actually visit our offices in Lavington, or you can send us an email at info@kipi.go.ke. And the advisory services are on technical issues on intellectual property. But if you need further legal advisory services, then you may opt to get a legal counsel maybe to advise.
Very well. Is there any other question? Yes, Mokombero, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I asked this question earlier about Make It Kenya, that your user dashboard does not allow foreigners to register. This kind of contrasts with what Investment Kenya is doing, because the system assumes that everybody's a national. And yeah, I don't know what to do about this.
Yes, my colleague Mariam will take that.
Thank you, Makomborero, for the question. We noted your question, and you have shared with us your email address, so we will be in touch with you as we see how to navigate this part of the system. Here you're talking about the Made in Kenya mark, which is in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other concern that we can respond to? Anyone else? Then it looks like this was a well explained session that members have listened to. And
I have an additional question.
Okay.
I wanted to know how we
Jennifer?
can access the information on the trade fairs that we should look to attend in Egypt. Can this information trickle down to the members of KEPROBA, etc.? And can the attaché put this information out on the site or somewhere accessible so we can know how to get into the Egyptian market from our various different industries?
Yes, actually, every year we together with our missions do compile a list of trade promotion events that will be taking place in their areas of jurisdiction, and we do compile a Kenya National Export Market Development Program, which is available on our website. I would like to add that you could first go through it and see if there is any that is missing. Then you do as an email through enquiries@brand.ke for an addition. And we have already shared this concern, your concern, to the commercial attaché. He will respond. He's currently preparing for another meeting, but he's going to respond to all your concerns going forward from this session. And it is in our interest that all the participants of this session get to access the Egyptian market. You've seen from time to time that the Egyptian market Egyptians have made inroads into our market. I think we also need to do the same. And so we later after this session, we also separately reach out to him so that we can also share that information on to all the participants that took part in this session today. Any other concern? Jennifer, I hope that's fine.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other concern that we need to respond to? Silence means good. We are good. So now I want to hand over the session to my colleague Dennis or Mariam to progress it beyond here. But I can see a comment. No, this is just a thank you note. Now, before we close, we have shared with you a feedback form. We'd like to know if there are areas you would like us to focus on in our future sessions. And if the session met your expectations, if there's anything that we may need to improve, kindly tell us so that the next session can be even more livelier than what it was today. Because we have realized that it may not be possible for us to be in every market, but through our correct contact with our missions and them coming on board to share information, this will inform you on what happens in those markets, and it will enable you to make informed decisions going forward. So, is there any other concern? Tobias, are you still here? Tobias?
Yes, Peterson, I'm here, but just like I've told you, I am preparing
Yes.
for another meeting, yes.
Okay, now as you prepare to sign off, members are saying they want to know the list of trade promotion events in that area in Cairo and the other areas of your jurisdiction, so that they can prepare to come and participate. So when you get time, please compile and share with us so that you can share with them.
Yeah. I want to respond that normally every year they get us the calendar, and I've already shared with the proper, but I will reshare so that you can share with the participants.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tobias, and thank you for the support that you've extended to us. So at this point now, let me hand it over to Dennis. Thank you.
Person for that session on Q&A. Mine is very short. No, we are running out of time. Mine was to just do closing remarks and a vote of thanks. To start off with, I want to thank our participants who have been with us the last few or so hours. We started almost 70 members are still with us. We very much appreciate your patience to be with us for that long session. I also want to thank our embassy in Cairo, Egypt, led by our Balozi, His Excellency Frederick, and his entire team at the embassy in Cairo. Thank you for your support in making this a success. Thank our dear panelists and presenters from KRA, from KEPS, from KIPI, from Kentrade. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation and being part of this process of sharing information about the AfCFTA market and the opportunities that our exporters can take advantage of. It has been a great honor to have you in this session. We thank you most sincerely. So I want to thank my colleagues at Kiproba for the support in putting up this webinar, and we feel much appreciated. Part of closing, I think we have agreed on our way forward in terms of the feedback from our dear participants. And I just want to reiterate that Kiproba and the rest of our partners will remain available for further conversations around what you need to do to export within the African markets. We are ready to award you together with our partner institutions. You can walk to our offices on first floor of Anniversary Towers for one-on-one engagement with our trade advisory team in terms of what you need to do to be able to export, and where there are opportunities, we'll be able to share that information. So without much ado, I want to bring this meeting to a close. And I want to say once again a big thank you to everybody. And I want to wish you a good afternoon and a nice weekend ahead. So you are allowed to leave at your own pleasure. The meeting is adjourned. I thank you.